that I definitely always have this fear of getting a job. That's
Why?
one.
Let's dive into that. What's the fear? What's bad about it? I mean, you make more money,
I just don't,
you have
I don't,
stability.
well, I mean, in theory, you make more money. In theory, you have stability, but both are not necessarily. Let's say you make more money. Let's make that argument the case. Sure, you can make more money, but stability, it's unclear these days. I mean, everybody is basically getting, a lot of people I know are getting laid off. Um, and we're back, the three of us, the three musketeers. Frank, welcome back this week. Our theme is motivation. I think we want to talk motivation. Are you motivated to have this conversation? I mean, you're back after 3 episodes missing. They thought we killed you. They
I thought
thought
it
you
was
didn't like
two. Is it
us.
three? Just time
All
flies.
sorts of crazy
It was
conspiracy
three.
theorists.
It was three. So,
Well, I was
um,
getting married, so you, as you said, it's about commitment. No, I'm really glad I missed you guys. Really happy to be back, and it's it's a once in a lifetime event, so I didn't want to miss any of it.
being back
Um,
or being married? Which one?
Being married, of course.
Oh yes,
I mean,
that's
hopefully
right.
it's a once thing. um, sure, you want me to dive right in, or do you guys, or maybe Teddy, you want to start, maybe
No,
talking about
how do you
motivation
feel
for
being married
Dive in.
after?
Yeah, come
Yeah, or
on,
just
tell
like
us.
But
getting.
that's not the topic. The topic is motivation. I feel great. Everything's okay. I'm just tired. I'm just glad to be back, and it's like just it's something I always tried to reach, and I didn't reach yet. But it's rhythm. I really want to get to rhythm, and these kind of things is like the opposite of rhythm, and I just come back, and I'm like, I feel like it's gonna take me 2 weeks to just rebalance and come back to good energy or feeling home or whatever. But when you travel every day and too much, it just kills you.
It could be
Yeah, and
exhausting.
you're back in Tallinn right now, and you've
Yeah,
been in France all of this time, or
yeah. France, but hotels, seeing people,
yeah.
like traveling to one thing to another. Like anyway, it's like being in a hotel feels like being in jail. Tiny place, and
I mean, it
and
depends on the hotel. Depends on the
yeah,
hotel. I mean,
yeah,
I,
yeah. Anyway,
it's not like
I
you're.
don't want to bitch too much about it. Like traveling is great. I love traveling, but it's not the same when you travel and you go on holidays. But that way you have to deal with personal stuff, and on the top of that, keep working on stuff. And it's just like at the end of the day, you feel like it's well, and doing all of that when you don't have an office, you don't have even a chair or something like that. And it's just ridiculous. Um, but no, I thought about talking about motivation about after seeing. We talked a little bit about it in a previous episode. You talked about commitment, but I think it's good to go back about why we do that. What's the source of our energy? And I'm curious to know what's yours, and then I'll share mine. But um, curious to know what powers this nonsense of trying to keep building companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, I mean, I guess I'm going first because Teddy didn't jump in there.
I tried.
I'm still thinking.
I know. You got to think fast. The motivation for me is that I definitely always have this fear of getting a job. That's
Why?
one.
Let's dive into that. What's the fear? What's bad about it? I mean, you make more money.
I just don't.
You have
I don't.
stability.
Well, I mean, in theory, you make more money. In theory, you have stability, but both are not necessarily. Let's say you make more money. Let's make that argument the case. Sure, you can make more money, but stability, it's unclear these days. I mean, everybody is basically getting, a lot of people I know are getting laid off, as they're and it's hard to find jobs, right? Like if we're thinking about people that are not doctors, accountants, or lawyers, if we're thinking about in tech, a lot of them are getting laid off. So that's kind of a pain in the ass. But for me personally, it probably has nothing to do with that. Like it's more of I don't know what it's like, and maybe it could be good. Maybe it could be fun. But um, I like the ability to travel, to kind of organize my own schedule, and um, it's nice being able to earn based on what I create. So that's a motivation. The other motivation, it's nice to see something from nothing, and control the direction of that. I mean, argument is like last year we were thinking of selling Tectalia at some point, or finding a buyer for it, and I think it was like only a week conversation on that. But like I'm looking at this year, I'm already I'm looking forward to it, and if I sold it based on the offers that were on the table, I'm probably actually going to make more money this year owning it fully than selling it. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. So it's like if is seeing that happen. So that's my motivation, and it's money. Like
I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure I understand what's your motivation, but if I have to make a pick of what you talked about, it looks like it's freedom.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. To me, I don't know. It's I guess there's different level to that question. There's the level about why we end up doing that instead of something else when you have options. There's the question about why you pick this project instead of another one. What motivates you for one thing instead of another one? And I think have you experienced, different kind of motivation? But I believe that what powers us at the end has to be stable. It's like, it's not something that's going to be, 1 week it's going to be freedom, another week it's going to be something else. Like, to me, I always wonder, because sometimes I'm like, why am I doing that? It makes absolutely no sense. It almost feel like it's some kind of sickness, because, it's difficult, it's stressful, you have a lot of uncertainty. And again, like getting a job is a better bet. That's why most people do that bet, economically and statistically, and in practice, not just theoretically. But if I have to boil it down, and I know it sounds pretty dramatic, but I would say my motivation is death. Which I guess is also life, is another way to look at it. But knowing I'll be gone at one point, in time, like as long as possible, hopefully, then it's really hard for me to grasp the idea that I had before, I guess, until you think about it, and you think about it for whatever happens in your own experience. But why would I spend all this time I have, which is, to sell more ads for Google, for example? And it's really hard to be like, then you're like, great, I make tons of money, I do all these things, but you're like, holy shit, that's my life, It's like, here's Franck, he sold a lot of ads. And I feel like I agree with you on the freedom. To me, it's the freedom of acting on things that I care about or that I believe are interesting. But sometimes it's not that easy, right? It's like sometimes I'm just going to be, that's kind of where I am right now. And we talked about it before, which is I don't have a passion idea. I don't have something where it's like, very clear and I know what I fight for. Or to be fair, it's not that simple. It's like, I love education. I love democracy. I love entrepreneurship. I love health. I love all these things. And you get the motivation, but then you have to deal with shit. No, I need to make money. I need to assemble. Like, you have all these things that comes. And so you're, the passion is not enough. And so again, like just to finish and then you can bounce on that. Again, to keep it simple, I think for me, it's the idea that I'm mortal, and to my own belief, there's nothing else. And so I have to build purpose. And it's really hard for me to build purpose if I'm not the source of it, or if I don't work with people who are intentional about it. And after that, then what's my decision, or why I believe, what kind of project I believe are useful. And to me, it's anything that's about using new technology, because that's what I was trained as an engineer. And I'm like, I see hope into using technology to do new things. And I want to be useful for, as many people as I can. So I guess this fear, this knowledge of death to me leads me to how can I be a useful person? Mm-hmm. And at least it makes me feel it's okay now if I fail, because I've tried to do that, and then if not, I'll do something else. But anyway.
So fear of death is the kind of the one word? Or?
It's not the fear. Fear is something you could escape, right? It's like, oh my God, like it's the knowledge of it.
Yeah. You said the passion is
not
enough.
And I guess the way to escape it from Teddy will be, there's going to be no death, it's a sickness, and we'll all be immortal. No, I'm kidding. But that's one way to escape it. Yeah, would be immortality, and then then my motivation would be gone. And I work for Google.
part of my motivation also ties back to like us being mortal as humans, and solving longevity and trying to figure out how we can buy more time for ourselves and live longer and explore the beauty of the universe, and both like outside and inside. You said passion is not enough. Just wanna share like feelings lately. I've been juggling between different projects, trying to see what like sticks, what works. All of them equally exciting, I would say, at some point. And just to confirm that the passion is not enough, at one point I was super excited for all these, like I would say 3 major projects, and they were all doing great, and I felt like very motivated to do it. I was passionate about them, but then somehow I don't know, like a weird timing. I like this saying, when it rains it pours. It basically, the passion was gone for the 3 of these projects like at the same time. It's like, what am I doing right now? I don't feel love towards any of these projects. Where should I focus my attention? Where should I look for motivation? So it's true that passion is not enough. You need some sort of framework, and I'm not sure what's the solution there. One way I'm dealing with it is to sort of zoom out and kind of give myself some time and look at it from a larger perspective as part of like a bigger thing, larger contribution, or being useful longer term.
In a way, it is passion, I guess, because it powers me, and it must powers you too, and it must powers Gabriel, and it powers you through decades. I mean, it's not like, but we've still been doing that for like 10 plus years across the board, and so it's
true.
It might be the real passion. The real passion is, maybe something very vague, but that's strong enough to resist time.
But is it passion for like general to be an entrepreneur, or passion for specific project, for, I don't know, longevity?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's not one specific project. I think it's just for me, it would be how can I tell a story is usually what I talk about. Like, it's like when you, it's like your eulogy, right? It's like, or if someone makes a movie about you, what is it going to be? And is it something good where it's going to be, it could be horrible, right? It could be, you launch this company, it totally crashed and your life is shit, but it's still a good story. That's what I like to talk about. So to look at your own life as a story, and to see where it fits, it's to me, I'm always obsessed with that, which is it a good story? And if it's and the reason I like stories, because stories is something we share, and so something we share is something we value as mankind. So I believe that if you can build a good story of yourself, then it means you have done something right with your life. Might be wrong. And we didn't talk about it because I think all of us can have the same motivation, but I know people whose motivation is solely to make money. And that powers a lot of people.
I think I want to look at it, maybe for me, if I have to pick a word, or I'm not quite sure if it's 100% true, but fear of regret. It's one thing. I want to try new things. So it starts from being curious about things, and then I'm like, if I don't do this right now, will I regret it? And typically the answer is yes, because I want to try a bunch of different things and all of the same time in the same time. So that's probably one big driver that gets me into one thing. But then I'm not sure where do I find the motivation to keep going on a project level.
But you see, that's funny. You have to know, because it's somewhere inside of all of us. So it's right in front of you and you can't voice it, which to me is interesting. That's why I wanted to dive into, if we're like, what motivates, but like there's something very deep into what motivates people. And I believe there's something very deep into what motivates entrepreneurs specifically. Sorry, Gabriel.
Yeah, I mean, for all the entrepreneurs that I encounter, I actually have this conversation a lot. And I think we're the post-exit founder group that is a little E when it comes to post-exit versus a big E. And there's a difference when you don't have the monetary, financial sort of huge win, which I've seen is once you.
It doesn't change your motivation, does it?
I think it's not a change. It's not.
It distracts you, maybe, but the motivation has to be the same.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe you're motivated differently, because there's some that I've encountered. They've made their money. They've accomplished what they wanted to accomplish, and their motivation changes for why they want to do the next thing. Maybe instead of the first thing being purely for freedom, which could be freedom for time, freedom for finances to make the choices. The second one could actually be motivation for actually locking them into something that is a unachievable goal, like solving climate change.
I think maybe what happened to me would be that some people whose goal was to make money, they made money and then they realized it wasn't a good goal. I just saw a friend like who achieved like Big E and doesn't care, just keep doing more stuff. Like it's to him, like the money doesn't really matter at all. It's a tool. It's nice it matters to him. Sorry, it's like it's business, but he could retire, he could stop and whatever and do big impact or foundation and just keep doing business. So it means the motivation's deeper. Again, I think there has to be a class of different motivators. But my guess is for a lot of people, and I think we interviewed one founder who was like that, the majority of people believe that I'll make a lot of money and then I'll have freedom and then I can start to do something. And that's enough as a motivation. And then you reach that mountain, you go on top, and then you're like, oh shit, it's not enough. And I think maybe we're lucky enough, or maybe because maybe it's when you do a small E, you still realize there's something deeper. It's not going to be, it's never going to go away. To me, again, like I rationalize that way. Death is not going to go away. It's still going to die. Sorry, it's pretty deep today, but I don't take it in a negative way. I think it's something that like mankind was very comfortable and very vocal about for thousands of years. We tend to ignore that in our society,
and this is not
but we should not.
But it's also not a new statement, right? Steve Jobs.
No, of course.
That's kind of Steve Jobs' mantra was
life is limited.
Knowing that one day we'll be dead.
I'm sure all the good ones must have some kind of connection to that. Like it makes would be my bet. Yeah.
And I agree. I mean, because even when, I would actually like to say, I think it's freedom, but there's also, I take kind of points from two of you guys, right? It's tell a good story. It's amazing to tell a good story and have no regrets, right?
But I want to challenge you on freedom, because I don't think we ever have freedom. But what do you think is going to happen when you have full freedom? Like, what's full freedom? Like, freedom from what?
I don't think.
You see, life is you don't have freedom from life. You don't have freedom from customers. You don't have freedom from investors. You don't have freedom from whatever. There's a lot of things where your freedom is very limited. Or
I'm not saying that you should have you should be entirely free and have the ability to make your decision of like, okay, I've got all the money. I can do whatever I want. Now everything's going to be great. No, it's not how it works. I think it's the freedom to decide what to work on, and the freedom to decide when to schedule my calls, and the freedom to say no. It's mostly it. So
that's a good one.
You have that freedom already, and
that's what I'm saying. That's my continued motivation. You asked what my motivation is. That's what I'm telling you. That's why I'm not getting a job. Maybe not even the ego thing. It's mostly because I don't want some guy to be like, look, you got to show up here 8 a.m., going to put on a tie, we're going to the office. I would love that.
Jesus, that sounds amazing. No. It's like no. Yeah, I mean, the truth is, I would hate it after a while. But
for like a week or two, it would be fun. For like a week or two, it would be fun.
It's like holidays.
Then you'll see like an Instagram post or your friend being like, "Hey, I'm like here doing this with this so and so. What are you doing? Come grab a drink."
No, that wouldn't be my issue. My experience in doing jobs is that you end up seeing things you want to fix and you don't have the power to fix them, and you keep disagreeing with whatever choices are made around you, and you're like, that's a stupid choice. Like we should do that, and you voice it, and people say, "Well, your voice doesn't matter." So it's more of it goes back to power, I guess, but even then, like, again, if you're the CEO of a publicly traded company, you still have no control because you have quarterly earnings, and then you don't have the freedom because your shareholders like control it. So it's that's what I meant by I'm not sure if freedom is the right angle. I and also try to think about that myself at a different level, but it's like we have this tendency, and it's something we do naturally, which I think is very bad, and we can't help it, but which is to compare ourselves to the people around us, like, oh, this guy big exit, me small exit. It's natural, but it only leads to misery, and so if you wake up every day and you're like, I mean, I have 2 arms, I have 2 legs, I've got food, I've got internet, I can wake up and create new ideas and build things. So you have to satisfy yourself with what you have, and then you are really free. And then you don't have to wait for $10 million to think you are and realize you're not. So I'm really going to work on that. I guess maybe it's like Teddy, you meditate, but I guess that would be my daily mantra, which is like, be thankful. And now just work. There's no, just me.
Yeah.
Didn't we have a discussion about this a few weeks ago where I said, well, I'm grateful for these things. And then you said, that's bullshit to be grateful.
Maybe I changed my mind. I don't know, but I'm thinking about it now.
100%. I was saying, I'm grateful for this. And Frank was like, why are you grateful? Like, it's just, that's ridiculous. I don't know why people say that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
But
you're right.
Comparison,
you influenced me. I was listening.
You're becoming a better person by hosting this podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think the comparison is evil, and maybe that's probably the source. In my case, I want to, like this word being the average is really what is like deep inside me. I don't want to be average as a human being in all like regards when it comes to financials or lifestyle or good life or relationships. So just want to sort of be above the average, and that goes back to comparison. I don't know, I think it's engraved in like the way I grew up.
I'd love to be the average, because to the average would be normal, and normal is happiness. It's having normal friends, having beers. I don't know.
Well, maybe as you said, like this is sickness. What we're doing is it's not a.
It's a dysfunctional.
No,
it's a good thing for society. It's dysfunctional, but I'm trying to see why we're dysfunctional and others are not.
Well,
like we kind of look at it at an economic perspective, the distorted. But all of us are like, I think it's just interesting, like what Paris founders, why and I think
I would bet that goes back to childhood and the way you grew up, and
Steve Blank had this hypothesis. Steve Blank was saying his hypothesis was entrepreneurs come from dysfunctional families. I believe so. Yeah, it's possible. There might be that.
I don't think so. I mean, like I grew up in a pretty happy family, and everything was all right and great, and I don't think that's true. And at one point I was like wondering if I'm meant to be an entrepreneur given that definition. But I think it's more the words
actually,
that like the stories you've been told.
Let's go back to the original story of the epiphany. When did you wake up and be like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? Is that, do you remember when that happened? What triggered it?
Not really. I remember not wanting to be an entrepreneur. My mother is a teacher in high school. She's teaching entrepreneurship, business, all these things. And at some point she's like, you're an entrepreneur. And I was like, no, I don't want to be that, because the image in my mind was this man in a suit and tie. There was a picture in a book. This is like an entrepreneur, and they take risks and blah, blah, blah. The definition. I didn't want it to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to fix computers and build things. So no, I don't quite remember. I was against that idea.
Why was she? What did you do that made her say that? Like, what was your?
I was helping them with their business, selling stuff like baby clothes and import things, and yeah.
I think it just happened for me.
Like how? When?
Oh, way before I even knew what an entrepreneur was. I mean, I was. Sure. I think in elementary school, I started the Lego club, and I raised some money for that. And I was able to
How much did you raise?
I don't know, like $630 maybe.
Ooh, that's nothing. I know a guy at your age, he raised a 5,000. No, I'm kidding. I was trying to play on there's a better kid somewhere who made a bigger Lego.
I don't know.
Elon raised 10,000.
I was there. It was like, I remember, because I know how much the Lego sets were. They were $600, and I was like, well, if we get $30 on top, we can buy some snacks. And they give us the computer room after hours once a week. Yeah, it was cool. And we basically would just we'd do the Lego stuff, but then we ended up just watching a lot of videos on eBaum's World, because YouTube didn't really exist then. This was 2003, 2004, and then it just
to me, I guess. To me, I was going to say for me the same was when I was young, but I wouldn't call it entrepreneurship. I think I would call it business. I just liked, human interaction. I liked human interaction. I like human interaction. I was making cakes, for example, also to raise money, and like I made like tons of money with that. Then had a business of pins was a big thing at one time in France. And so I would exchange candies and video games for pins, and then I would resell them on the market.
Like just like, what did they say, the pins?
Oh, but it's like brands and logo and whatever. It was like, it makes as much sense as whatever Pokemon cards today, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But some pins would go for, $1,000.
Wow. So you made good money.
So this reminds me of
I made more money when I was a teenager than when I had my first job.
Then now.
And it was all cash. I know,
You
even
still
now.
make
Yeah.
more
No, I make more because of inflation. I would have to correct. But yeah, no, anyway, it's funny.
This reminds me of the first sort of motivation, which it was project based. When I was going to school, they used to give us from home like 1/6 of a dollar for food. That was the daily school budget. And some kids, they have like twice that amount of money, so they would buy not just like a little piece of toast, but they would buy also like a drink or something. And I wanted to have that as well, so it's like comparison, and wanted to be like the other kids. But like, I don't know, my family was in a good situation, but they weren't really not spoiling us, but they were trying to put some like frameworks and guards how we should like behave, and put some limits and boundaries. And then I asked my mom, and she was like, you sort of gotta earn that money to be able to do that. And then I started selling stuff. I started selling things that I would like use at home, like use pencils and pens. And
I wonder.
So my motivation was driven based like on comparison with others. I wanted to be like these other kids and I wanted to afford these drinks, So I don't know, maybe it goes back to.
Yeah, because mine.
No, I was gonna say, just wanted to say, because we never really interact with our tiny audience, but because we're an audience is 0.0001%, but we'd love them to comment what was their first entrepreneurial action. What's their oldest memory of being entrepreneurial? Like what have you launched? And I'll pass it back to you, Gabriel. But thinking about it as often we do when we have these debates, I think, if I really think about my motivation, then I guess I could reformulate it as human adventure. I enjoy meeting other humans, building things, and kind of having these adventures, and some succeed, some fail. It's the most important part is the journey anyway.
The journey is usually the part that you remember anyways. Usually the getting there, once you're there, wherever that may be, you're like, this is what I've been expecting. And usually you look back and the journey was actually the part that was what makes up your life.
There's a Miley Cyrus. There's a Miley
everybody
Cyrus
knows,
meme that we're referencing that everybody should know.
Anyway,
keep referencing it here.
Yeah, it's like drink a beer every time you hear it. Sorry, Gabriel, back to you. But anyway, so I like that. I guess it's a good motivation. We're not entrepreneurs, we're adventurers. I mean, I am at least.
Frank is okay. Gabriel, back to you, and then he keeps talking.
I'm just letting him go. No, we've missed Frank for the last 3 weeks, so he's got to get it.
Yeah,
he's got to get it all.
I'm entitled to get a little bit more. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Back to you.
I think we beat this topic to death, but from the motivation side, to death. So you get it. I would love to hear from our audience on it, but the real thing is what keeps us motivating doing this podcast. We were trying to figure out last week who was the one that started this to say that we should do it.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. Teddy, do you remember?
I think it was you, Gabriel.
I also don't care. I guess it's.
No, I'm just saying that when you start something and you've got a group of people and it's going, a lot of the times you kind of forget the early details, and the story becomes kind of apocryphal. Did I pronounce that word properly? I hope I did, because if not, the word police will get me. But it's a myth, right, of how it started. So I think from a motivation standpoint, I feel, it's freedom, but maybe there's some sort of mythology behind it as well of what motivates the three of us. Frank, it's the adventure and the idea that we're going to be dead. 100 years from now.
It's not an idea, Jesus. It's a reality. Don't.
The reality.
No
that we're
idea.
going to be dead.
Yeah,
No,
it
it is
is.
a reality. Look, my wife and Nastia and I talk about it all the time. I'm like, look, in 100 years, everybody's gonna be dead. So let's go out tonight and have a little bit of a good time
Exactly.
because, like, we don't know when,
So that's
when things are
motivation.
gonna happen. So that's Frank, kind of motivation. Teddy, in the beginning, it sounded like it was comparison, but now
Fear of regret.
it's the fear of regret, and for me, it's freedom, and I will still say it's financial freedom and time freedom. And you heard it here. As soon as I make the money and I have the big exit that happens, I probably will not be much happier.
To reformulate, and I don't disagree, but then it's the hope of.
Yeah, it's the hope.
The
Yeah.
journey of
Yeah, hope. So yours the hope. Teddy's fear and meets the love of adventure.
Again, I don't want to use the word fear for me. I don't think it's just
Okay.
fear. It's more than that. But like it starts from curiosity, goes into fear of regret.
Okay,
and
curiosity.
Not doing the thing.
So love, curiosity, and hope.
Adventure and hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Good.
so we don't have a quote, but we should have a quote on the journey. Do we have is Frank going to give us a quote this week because he's been away for 3 weeks?
I just get one. I just quoted Miley. It's a good quote. Can use it every week. See, that's the best quote ever.
Give us one and then we'll go.
Me? Just
Yeah,
okay.
you.
We'll have to cut.
Quote,
Quote from
let's go.
it's not really interesting, but it is interesting. It's from René Girard, who's a French philosopher who worked on, I guess, both the envy and the scapegoat. But I saw a quote from him that says, "Today, envy is the emotion which plays the greatest role in our society." So
Today, envy. Just be
Yeah.
You said envy. Repeat that one
envy,
more time. Nicole.
ENVY, is the emotion which plays the greatest role in our society. So our society is powered by envy, according to him.
Interesting. That was
So-
his motivation.
Isn't he the Peter
That's-
Thiel? Like
no,
Peter Thiel loves
that's-
this guy, or no?
I like this guy too. He studied.
Controversial.
It's basically, no, it's not. I mean, I guess he is. He studied mankind, and he has a couple of hypotheses about why conflict rise. And so he developed this whole theory about the scapegoat, about how society end up pointing towards one part of society. And he had this idea, for example, that says if you have, for example, one toy, there's a bunch of kids played together, and there's one red car. Then people will fight to get that red car, even though there's nothing special about it. Then just like one guy can get the red car. And so it looks like that's what I mean by envy is a very deep engine in our society.
Yeah.
It seems
Awesome.
conflict
NFTs.
emerge. So that's his argument to say that equality makes no sense. If you force equality, there's always going to be one guy who has a different apartment because it's not at the same location, and then you will envy that. You can't escape envy, is basically what he's saying.
Got it. Well, we'll
So
see everybody next week.
and so this theory is the more equality you have, the more equality you push, the more violent and the more conflicted society is.
Yes, that's. We're getting to deep philosophical territory for the messy man. We'll talk about it more next week. But
Sure.
thank you for the quote, Frank.
Welcome.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.